I wanted to take just a trip way back in time so that you guys can get to know a little bit about me and a little bit about my history inside of the personal development in the coaching space. When I was 19 years old, I was walking down a dusty road in Santiago de Chile, and I was with another North American. I was a Mormon missionary, and I was walking along, and we saw a young man, and he was sitting on the corner of a street smoking a cigarette. Have you ever looked in someone's eyes and just seen like the deepest, most intense sadness? Yeah, just like at a core level, like you know something is deeply wrong inside. And that's exactly what I saw. So he was just sitting there, he was smoking, but it was almost as if as he was smoking, it's like as he was breathing out, he was almost breathing out the will to live. And it was really, really evident. And I was young, so I didn't completely know what was going on, but I knew something was very, very wrong. And so we started to talk to him, and it turns out that on that very day that his wife in the morning had suddenly left him. They had been fighting verbally. She had left him, and she had taken his only child, and she had just disappeared. And he didn't know where she was. She wrote a note saying that she wasn't ever coming back, and that he would never see that little baby boy ever again. And he had decided about 5 minutes before we had come up to him that he was going to end his life. And I was not qualified for that, right? Raise your hand if you've ever been not qualified for something that got thrown your way, right? I was like, it hit me like a ton of bricks, and he didn't know who to talk to. In fact, he'd kind of given up on talking to anybody. And we started to talk with him there, out in the outside, in the dust, and the wind, and the smog. And because Santiago is pinned in by all these high mountains, and there was just this heavy, heavy, heavy smog that was sitting on the valley below. And we started to talk to him, and we were doing anything and everything that we could possibly think of to wake him up, to energize him, just to reconnect him back to life. And we ended up spending 3 or 4 hours, but something happened while we talked to him. And that is, a light went on in his eyes again. And there was still sadness all over his face, but a light came back on. How many of you know what it's like to have a light come on in your own life, in your own eyes? And when I saw it, it woke something back up inside of me. And even though I didn't realize it, that was the very moment in time when I discovered my purpose in life. And that's not to save people from suicide. That wasn't the point. I was not qualified for it. I did not know what I was doing. I happened to be in the right place at the right time. I believe literally that there was divine intervention, and I was there exactly in the way that I needed to be at the right time, in the right place, for the right purpose, for the right person. But when I saw a light wake up, I realized down deep in my soul that that's what I was wired to do, that I was wired to help people wake up. I was wired to help people come alive. And I firmly believe that each and every one of us has a mission, something that is breathed in from the beyond, something that we can't explain, but it's something that's woven down into the very fiber of who we are. It's down so deep in our DNA, it's down so deep inside our soul that we can't deny it. And we try to deny it. And I tried to deny it. Because I came back, and yesterday I told you the story as I think I was bringing Sarita up, about looking at my daughter in the eyes, right? And having that moment. And that was a moment of pure terror and crisis. Because up until that point, I had never really thought about money. I mean, just to give you an example, And maybe, when any of you, I'm just curious, when any of you were young, did you just like not think about money? Like there was food there at the right time, you showed up, if you had something, you went to your parents and you're like, oh yeah, I need $75 for baseball. And they're like, and then they'd give it to you and you'd kind of figure it out. Or you'd go to grandpa and grandpa would solve it. For some of you struggled with money, so you early on you didn't have that luxury. But for some of you, it's just like you didn't really ever think about it. Well, that's where I was. I mean, I was married. I was married with a child. For the first 8 months that we were married, was it maybe 7.5 months, we didn't have a car. We lived just off of the campus housing. We were close enough to the grocery store, we could walk there. We were close enough to campus, we could walk there. We were close enough to my job that I could walk there. And then all of a sudden, my wife asked me, how are we going to get the baby home from the hospital? And I was like, I can put her on the handlebar of my bike. And my wife is like, I think it's time to buy a car, right? And so I'm like, well, gosh darn it, how are we going to do that? Because we were broke as a joke. Anybody ever been broke as a joke? I mean, no money. I mean, college, two people madly in love. No cash in the bank, right? Just broke, And so I think I had a buddy go help me. We went and we found a car, and for $400, that it's a miracle that it ever. You remember that car, that little Honda Civic? It had the leak in the roof. But that's exactly where we were. So we got a car, and we were able to bring the baby home from the hospital. Actually, drive to the hospital. I didn't have to ride my pregnant wife to the hospital on the handlebars of my bike. But we came to that point, and so I realized when I held my child, I realized that money mattered. And it mattered a lot, and I was going to need to provide. And it was the first time that the full weight of responsibility of being a parent became apparent in my life. And so I became a parent. And a parent with responsibility, and I knew that I needed to make money. And here's what happened. Even though I had woken up inside, even though I knew that my life had something to do with waking people up and bringing people to life, I put it on a shelf. I put it on a shelf because I knew I had to make money. I changed my major. I went and got an MBA from a good school. Not because my passion was corporate America, because that's what MBAs do, right? It's corporate business, it's not small business. It's corporate business, it's not freedom, right? Anybody else got an MBA? Yeah. Is that true? First day of MBA school, they tried to squash entrepreneurialism out of me, right? I remember in the orientation where they said, what do you want to do? One guy, I want to work for IBM. Another person, I want to work for the big pharma companies. Another person, I want to do this. And I was like, what do you do if you want to be an entrepreneur? Squash. That's exactly what happened, right? I mean, they just squashed it right out of me. They actually, the professor laughed. You're not going to be an entrepreneur. Okay. And then systematically, it was about, for me, I did a 2-year program in a year. I compressed it. So it was a year of indoctrination about why not to be an entrepreneur. So I left, and I took a corporate job, and I remember the day that I was sitting after about 7 years of being in a corporate job that I hated. I was a little early, it's probably 5. And I looked in my own eyes, and I saw the light retreating in my eyes. And it scared me to death. Do you know what it's like to get disconnected from your passion and your vision? Now, raise your hand if you do. Yeah. And what scared me more is I had a meeting that day, and I went and I was in this meeting with guys that were 15, 20 years ahead of me. They were well off. I worked in a good job. I actually even liked the people that I worked with. I even liked my boss at the time. Great guy. But when I looked at their eyes, it was like their soul was gone. It's like a corporate vampire had latched onto their neck and sucked their soul dry. really. And the moment of panic, it started when I was shaving, but it finished when I was in that meeting. And I thought to myself, if I don't do something now, I'm going to be just like them. 15 years along, healthy 401k, safe pension, and dead. And it became an urgent problem for me. How do I wake myself back up? And the only thing that kept on coming back into my mind over and over and over again was going back to the moment when I was 19 years old and I saw a light wake up. And I felt my own soul awake. And I knew I had to take action. So I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. So for a while, I thought I was going to go to med school. I was working in the pharmaceutical field, and I thought that the natural extension would be to go back and get more school and never get out of debt. Do what the average doctor does. And doctors are healers, they're amazing. But it was not my calling. And I realized that shortly enough. But I realized that wasn't my calling. And I woke up one day and Dave sent me, I think it was a practitioner and a master practitioner of NLP course, and he sent it to me at a really key time. He sent it to me at a time when I was getting chronic headaches, and here's why I was getting chronic headaches. They were called C-spine tension headaches. So for us non-medical folk, C-spine, top of the spine, tension, what was the tension from? Dying inside. That'll stress you out, right? And that was exactly what had happened for me. I was dead inside because I had disconnected from my passion, and I had disconnected from who I was, and I was disconnected from what I was built to do. And so my neck got really tight all the time because the pain was trying to wake me up to the real problem that was eating me away inside, and the real problem was, Will, wake up. You're dying inside. You need to reconnect to your passion. You need to reconnect to your purpose. You need to stand for what you believe in. And that's what was happening to me, deep down inside. And that's when Dave very timely sent me training that he didn't know that I desperately needed. And what I desperately needed was to learn a way to help people transform inside and to watch the lights of people's eyes wake up again. And so I heard this training and I learned how to dial down my headaches very, very quickly. Now that's not something we promised, but that's something that happened to me. It's part of my story. And so as I did that, I was instantly convinced that it was a powerful thing that I had just learned. And so I finally decided that I could turn this same kind of technology around and I could learn it in depth. I could become a student of it so that I could help others the same way that I was helped. And that's exactly what I did. Once I started this journey of moving on and helping people, I have at this point helped tens of thousands. I've spent tens of thousands of hours helping people one-on-one in groups wake up and change. And so I've been on this journey, and what I found is that it's not any one thing. It's not NLP, it's not hypnosis, it's not coaching, it's not this, it's not that. But there are bigger patterns that run in every successful change modality. There are patterns to human change. There are patterns that help people wake up. And that is where my true expertise lies. And more than that, it is my life mission. It is the place that when I stand there, I stand tall and strong because I know that that is the place that I am meant to be.